Okay, I think I got this right. Um, uh, there's two televisual portals. There's Bob's televisual portal, and there's Alice's televisual portal. Televisual portal 1 is Bob's. Televisual portal 2 is Alice's. And these yellow figures are their virtual selves. These colored figures are their real selves. Well, they're plainclothes figures. Um, if this check mark is on his holodeck, is being fed into her holodeck. His outside scenery, his outer world. It's going to the token interface, through to his holodeck, into his virtual holodeck, which he's carried along with his virtual environment, down to her holodeck, which he appears here. They both go into her holodeck, which they're now both a virtual. Then they go into his holodeck, which they'd both be virtual. And they'd go through his virtual holodeck, and it would be recursive. With the motions they had, they would be recursive to each other. They would be recursive with each other, infinitely recursive through this chain of mirror worlds, is what to call it, because it's real world outside, full of matter and light. Then there's a token interface inside that connects and makes the portal invisible in the first place, cloaks it. But it also feeds into the real holodeck. Outside world is real, virtual token interface, real holodeck, virtual holodeck is where their negative is flipped, where they're flipped negative into a mirror image virtual to be able to be translated back again into their virtual correct form. And then they follow this chain of mirror worlds. And but that's what the person sees on the outside. That's what the person who witnesses, who observes these two on the outside, they see a chain of mirror world recursion. Bob and Alice don't see that. What they see is, I'll take Bob's television portal 1, and what they see, while somebody else is seeing their virtual selves being in recursive form, going through these chain of mirror worlds, they see themselves in a virtual world that's not there. They're not there in this virtual world. They're virtual to it. There's a virtual world that's virtual. They both exist there. They both virtually exist there, but neither of them are in the same room. He's in his room, his holodeck chamber. She's in her holodeck chamber. They both see virtual images of each other, and they're following a mirror world topology, a mirror world recursion, or whatever you want to call it. That's what somebody would see on the outside, but then inside, it would just be like they were in normal reality. They would just, but an interesting aspect is that it's a duality within a duality. Their holodeck is inverse to it's an inverse duality within a duality. It's inverse to the outside world. It's the holodeck and the invisible boundary are inverse to each other. You turn invisibility outside in, you have a holodeck. You turn holodeck inside out, you have invisibility. That's one duality. The other duality is real into the virtual. That's real into the virtual. That's another duality. And that virtual reality follows that recursion, the telepresent recursion. So that's another duality. It's a duality between the invisible to the holodeck, from the holodeck to the virtual telepresent that follows this recursion. So they're combined in that way. That's the connection between mirror world, chain of mirror worlds, and the duality within the duality, the invisible inverse universe to a holodeck, the holodeck universe to the virtual duality within the duality. Universe dualities within the dualities. And they can't feel each other, they can see each other, but they can't touch each other. But an interesting thing is that invisible objects, you can touch the outer shell